Everyone has tried to improve at something at some point in their life, so it shouldn't be a foreign concept when I talk about the barrier in improvement. Now, the barrier is different for every different thing in its smallest details, but as a generality, what is the greatest barrier to improvement? You see, while this channel is all about video games, and I spend a lot of my time playing video games, it isn't the only thing that I do. For some references, I play guitar, I work out, and I ride dirt bikes. Even though these activities are drastically different, they all have the same barrier of improvement. When you pick up something for the first time, the improvement scale is exponentially higher. It goes up extremely fast, and you can sense your improvement within a couple of minutes to hours. But somewhere down the line, you'll hit a point where improvement flatlines. Now, it doesn't completely flatline, but it can very much feel like that. The way I like to think of it is when you're watching a movie and a character has a small pocket knife and they're trying to cut a rope. For some reason, every single time this happens on screen, it seems like their progress is non-existent, but eventually they do break the rope. You see, where the biggest problem comes in is when people get to that point where they have to cut the rope, they just stop doing that activity. And in the case of an activity that you're trying to get good at, that rope regenerates, because with lack of doing an activity comes a point where you actually start to lose skill. Now obviously I could just go the route of saying, well, the biggest barrier in your improvement is yourself, because you're the only one limiting yourself from doing the activity. But what happens when you do this activity relatively often, and you still see no progress? Well, I like to think of this as trying to cut the rope when the blade of the knife is being pushed into the rope instead of sawing the rope. What I mean by this is you're not doing the activity with intent. Where this analogy really stands out to me in my journey is fighting games, which is a huge component of this channel. I really love these games, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm not very good at them, and even though I play them relatively often, I still don't get much better. Now, there are a lot of times where I just don't want to try to get better, and I want to have fun with the game, but a lot of times I'm not playing to get better, I'm just playing to do something. The funniest thing about this is that I want to get better, but I'm not trying to get better. The only time I try to improve is on the fly, when I'm trying to learn how to block a string that someone's trying to condition me into, or trying to learn a connection to a combo while in a match with some of my friends. I used to play soccer when I was younger, and I was always told that you practice how you play because you play how you practice. That may seem like you're just saying the same thing twice, but if you practice something as if you were playing the game and trying to win with all of your intent, then you're gonna get better. But if you don't practice, and you play how you practice, then you're playing like you have no practice, which is sort of true. What does it mean to play with intent? Don't you intend to play video games when you play them? What it means to play with intent is to set your sights solely on improving. Disregard winning or losing, and try to notice what you are doing wrong that leads to you getting hit, or what you're doing right that leads to you getting a hit. Or hop into the practice range and try out some new scenarios, work on your reactions and your punishes. This is obviously in the context of fighting games, but these variables are interchangeable to suit the activity that you're trying to improve at. Sorry to any of you that thought that the anime shonen protagonist power-up was a real thing, where you power up somewhat randomly and all of a sudden you become better than everybody else. If you really want to think like that, then think of the protagonist that worked super hard to eventually get their power level. This isn't a set person, but you probably have one in mind. In the context of fighting games, most of them have a ranked system, and a huge discussion, which is always prevalent within the game, is ranked inflation or deflation. People tend to think that you don't deserve your rank, whether that be the rank is higher than it should be, or that it's lower than it should be. Usually the player thinks their rank is too low, and their opponents think that their rank is too high. That's mostly an ego thing, but every once in a while, maybe you're right. When I say that you're right, I mean that you probably deserve to go up a rank, or division, or down a division, or a single rank. The best way to determine if you deserve a rank or not is if you are working hard enough for that rank. You always see the highlight reels of the best players playing their matches, and they hardly show their losses, which is fine because it's more entertaining to see someone win. But you as a viewer have to be conscious about knowing how much they're in their practice range every single day and how many losses they have every single day that they're not showing. Players at this level usually only have a 50 to 60% win rate because they're getting to the point where they're so good that either of them can take the game depending on external factors. Our greatest barrier to our improvement is the way we try to improve. This seems pretty simple when you think about it, but it takes someone to take a step back and really think about it to understand how they need to change things from now on to make that improvement happen. Now, I can't answer your specific question on how to improve at your activity specifically, but I can give you some general tips to help you solve this for yourself, because we all know that figuring something out for yourself feels a lot more gratifying than someone telling you how to do it. And if you're the one to figure it out, it means you fully understand the concept and aren't just following a rulebook. This barrier is exhausting to get through, and the only way to pass through it is to be so interested in the thing that you're doing that you can power through the boring part, practicing over and over again to barely see any progress. But once you hit that point where you notice the improvement again, it'll all make sense. And you'll be so happy that you stuck with it, because if you care about something enough to keep trying, even when it's not fun, it shows your passion for that activity, or really anything you need to put effort into. I think that improving at things is like a snowball effect. A lot of people, me included, tend to try a lot of different things and move on to the next thing when they hit that barrier. It's almost like being an all-rounder, except for you're just mediocre at everything. It's fine to try things and not like them, but when you stop just because you're not improving but you still like the activity, that's where the problem arises. A lot of people who have just done one singular thing and stuck with it, and have felt that feeling you get when you stick through and finally get to that improving stage, tend to move on to another thing and get really good at that, and it snowballs, building up more and more skills throughout life, which is why you see people who are really good at one thing who also have a lot of more skills to offer. The reason I wanted to make this video and came up with the concept was because I have this problem a lot, and recently I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out why these barriers are locking me out of what I want to do, or more so why I let them lock me out of the things I want to do. I figured making this video would help me do the research for my own benefit, as well as helping other people answer this question for themselves. It's funny because I know how to answer this now, and how to get past this barrier, but it's the greatest barrier for a reason. Even though I know the answer, I still have to execute and keep going even when I don't want to, which, to be completely upfront and honest, is not fun. But if I want to be good at something so bad, then it will all be worth it in the end. I wouldn't call this a New Year's resolution because those things never really work out, but as a commitment to making this video and to get rid of the annoyance of being bad at fighting games and not being as good as I would like to be, is I want to reach a top rank in one of the fighting games that I play. I don't know which game this will be yet, but I'm sure it will either be a new fighting game that comes out this year or one of my favorites right now. I plan on making videos that update my progress and my journey, more of a side video that's only 1 to 3 minutes long, talking about what I have improved upon in the month or week or whatever, showing some of my best clips that I get. If you want to do some sort of challenge of your own, put it in the comments of this video to hold yourself accountable, or put it on your lock screen of your phone or whatever you want to do, so that every single time you look at your phone or whatever, you remember what your goal was. It doesn't have to be concrete, and you don't have to stick with the same thing the entire year, but a good thing to do is to improve on something every single year, so eventually you have a lot of skills, because who doesn't want to be good at something, right? Anyways, thank you for watching this video. I know my upload schedule has been pretty awful these past couple weeks, but I felt a little burnout, and of course, holidays, and things that kept me distracted from making these videos, and it started to feel overwhelming, so I'm trying to get more of a planned approach to these next couple of videos where there's a better schedule so I don't get overwhelmed with it. With all that being said, again, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Make sure to like and subscribe. God bless.